Hi, it's Penny here, and today I wanted to talk to you about some of my top animal companions from books, mostly fantasy books, but there are a few in here that are sci-fi or possibly other genres, depending on how you look at it. Also, I was inspired to do this video by a similar video by Deshauna, so I will link that up here or down below if you want to check that one out. But let's get into talking about some animal friends. I'm going to do top 10, but I have a couple of honorable mentions first. So firstly, this guy. I am currently rereading the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, and I believe that this guy, which came in the Brandon Sanderson Secret Project box, I believe that he is in the second book. It's been a while since I read it, so I've kind of forgotten. And I think I love him. I think he belongs on this list, but I won't remember properly until after my reread. So let's just imagine that he's in there. Also, this is the second book, and it's kind of spoilers to talk about him at all. So just know that I love him. Then another honorable mention would be Invictus by Ryan Groudon. This is a really fun young adult time travel story where we have this crew that goes back in time and steals famous artifacts just before they were lost or destroyed, and then brings them back to the future to sell for a profit. This is in a world where time travel is basically like a known thing, but it's very highly regulated because they're worried about causing paradoxes. I really love this, and in this time travel thieving crew, we have this girl named Imogen who changes her hair color all the time, and I love her. And as well, she has a red panda as a pet. You don't often see red pandas in fantasy books, but there's one in here, and she's just a pet. So I feel like there is a difference between a pet and a full animal companion. Like an actual animal companion is someone who's a little bit more of a person themselves rather than just a pet. Well, that's the way I see it. And then my last honorary mention, I wanted to mention the dogs in both the Kate Daniels series and also the Hidden Legacy series. So you will see on this list there are a lot of cats, and mostly I love them for being very cat-like cats and just fully encompassing that cat-like personality. In this, there are dogs, and I just feel like even though they have slight magical elements to them, they're also just really doggy dogs. They're more just normal dogs than the magical element might make you think. So Kate Daniels does at some point kind of adopt Grendel the dog, who's kind of just a black poodle-y type dog, but sometimes he sort of transforms into maybe something more. And then Catalina in the Hidden Legacy series has Shadow, and I forget if he has a little bit of a magical element or not, but I do appreciate the dogs in these series. I did also want to mention the Kate Daniels series before I get into the next one on the list, because there's definitely a perspective where you could say that the love interest in this book is an animal companion, because her love interest is a shapeshifter, and so a lot of the times he is an animal and he acts like an animal. These books are a little bit stereotypical in the way that they do shapeshifters, but have alphas and take on animalistic personality traits, which I'm often not a fan of, but I do love the way they do it in the Kate Daniels series. But I think there's definitely an argument for shapeshifter boyfriends being also classified as animal companions, which will take us into book number 10 on my list, which is going to be the Shiver series by Maggie Stiefvater. So in this series we have these werewolves, but in this world werewolves are kind of forced to turn into wolves based on the temperature. So when it gets really cold, these werewolves will turn into wolves, and they won't turn back into humans until the temperature warms up again. So for certain seasons they will spend the whole time as a wolf, and then we follow this teenage girl who kind of forms a relationship with this teenage werewolf. The reason why I particularly think this one is more of an animal companion type relationship is because initially they do form a connection while he is a wolf and she is a human. And while he is a human a lot of the time, there are times when he is stuck as a wolf. So he's kind of an animal companion. But anyway, I really love this iteration or this way of werewolves working. And even though it's kind of a YA romance, fantasy romance, and the romance part wasn't my favorite, there's still a lot of the story that I did really like beyond the romance. Then for number 9, we have the Tea Dragon Society books by Kay O'Neill. So this is just a bunch of really cute children's books about these people that own tea dragons. To be honest, the stories are not as focused on the tea dragons themselves as you might think, but the tea dragons are just absolutely adorable. And the information that the books include about the different types of tea dragons is just so cute, and I really wish the tea dragons were real things that we could really own, because I think it would make the world a better place. Then at number 8 we have the Whetū Toa books by Steph Mataku. So this is a New Zealand Maori author, and these are just really cute children's books. They sometimes have art in them, a little bit of art, not necessarily a lot, but a little bit. And the stories are just these really cute stories about this girl who goes with her mother to be this magician's assistant, or like the mother is going to be the housekeeper and assistant to this magician, and then Whetū Toa, her daughter, ends up looking after the animals on the farm that the magician owns. And these animals are somewhat magical. There's a few that I particularly love. One is the chickens. The chicken can either be, I think, 1,000 chickens or one chicken. You can kind of just use maths to change it. There's also a rabbit who's a little bit of a shit, meant to be helping the magician, but not always that helpful. There's also Ramses. So the second book in the series is Whetū Toa and the Hunt for Ramses, where Ramses basically goes like into other multi-dimensions. But Ramses just kind of a funny golden ram. Sometimes his golden fleece is so bright that he blinds people. Part of why Ramses is one that I really love is that I have my own Ramsey. So of course I love reading a book about him. Okay, now we're going to start getting into the cats that I like. So firstly, we're going to talk about the Monstrous series by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. So this is a really beautiful graphic novel series. Primarily we're following Micah, who kind of has a demon possessing her. But there's also a lot of other stuff going on in this world, including like half animal, half human creatures, and witches. But my most favorite are actually the cats. So in this world, cats have necromancy powers, and the number of tails they have determines the amount of like magical power that they have. And there's one particular cat, Wren, that follows along with our main characters. And I really love Wren. He's very cat-like, which is my favorite kind of cat in literature, which I think when I say cat-like, I mostly mean they think they're better than everyone and they don't know why other people aren't hurrying up and doing what they want them to do. But also, at times, they will show that they do really care about other people. We do also in the Monstrous series get these little snippets of like history lessons where there's this teacher cat, Professor Cat, teaching the young children cats about history, and that's how some of the world building is done. So honestly, the cats in Monstrous are amazing. Then number 6, we have The Aeronaut's Windlass by Jim Butcher. To be honest, it's been a while since I read this. In fact, it's been so long since this first book was released in the series that I had started to think we wouldn't get any more for that series, like that he would just never continue it. However, we are supposed to be getting the second book in November, which I will definitely need to be doing a reread for, because I can't really remember everything, but what I do remember is the cats. So in this story, I think what it is there's these different spires. It's kind of like a steampunk type world, and these different spires are having battles with each other. The spires being like kind of little towns, and they have these airships that can go between them. But in this world as well, there's like a whole side plot with the cats. Because the cats have their own society, and again, the cats do really look down on humans and think of them as like a lower society to what's really going on with the cats, and all the like human problems really don't compare to the actual problems which the cats are having. And there is one cat that kind of is the pet kind of this young girl, but the cat actually sees her as the pet, and a lot of the other cats are like, well, I don't know why you're bothering with a human. And I really love the cats. If it wasn't for the cats, I might have actually completely forgotten about the series entirely. However, I'm going back for the cats. Then at number 5, we have Bandit from the Descender series and also the Ascender series. So Descender and Ascender are graphic novel series where humanity has spread out across the universe, and then these giant robots turn up and just kill off a bunch of the humans. And then in retaliation, the humans start getting rid of all the robots, even though they're now using robots to do a lot of the labor. And primarily we're following this young like companion robot who has woken up on this moon and is trying to figure out where his family has gone. But also with him is Bandit, the robot dog. And Bandit just is always there, being a cute dog, sometimes quite central to the plot. But I really love Bandit. I think he's adorable and loyal, like a dog should be. Then we have Doom Slug from the Cytonic series by Brandon Sanderson. So Skyward, Starsight, Cytonic, and the new book's coming out later in the year, Defiant. I think that's going to be the last one in the series. But in this series, we primarily have this girl named Spencer. She lives in this world where they can never leave the planet because anytime they do, the aliens attack them. And the most respected profession, though, is to be fighting these aliens and keeping the planet safe, which Spencer wants to do. But because of her family reputation, she's really struggling to be allowed to do this. She does end up finding this spaceship and fixing it up and earning her right to fight. But as well, she comes across these slugs, and the main one that she kind of takes on as a pet is Doom Slug. Doom Slug has some abilities, and there are other slugs with other abilities that we learn about throughout the series. And also Doom Slug has like quite a personality for a slug that doesn't have any eyes. The only thing that makes me really sad about all the merch that's been created around Doom Slug is that they've gone for a cartoon version with eyes, but the canon in the book is that Doom Slug does not have eyes, and I know it's cuter for the animated versions to have eyes, but I really wish it was more true to the book. But honestly, that series for me has gone downhill, and at this point, the only redeeming quality are the slugs, especially Doom Slug, but maybe Boom Slug as well. I'm not sure it's the best thing that the slugs are the redeeming quality of this series, but they are. Then we have a character called Jinx from Someone Like Me. It's very hard to talk about without spoilers, but let's say that she's an imaginary fox. It's not entirely accurate because this book gets very strange, and it makes me so sad that I can't talk about any of the strangeness because it is spoilers. But it's kind of a horror book. We follow this woman who is in a domestic violence situation with her husband, and briefly she doesn't feel like she's in control of herself. Her son does also have this friend, or makes friends with this young girl who went through a really traumatic experience when she was younger, and as a result has this imaginary fox friend. And just everything about the way that imaginary fox friend lives and everything you learn about them, it was beautiful. This book is horrific and dark, but so twisty, and I really love it. I wish more people would talk about it. Then we have Austin from, I think this series is called The Keeper Chronicles by Tanya Huff. So Austin is basically the cat of this woman who works at this hotel which happens to have a portal to hell in the basement, and she basically tries to keep people safe from it, but it also kind of draws in magical people. But the reason I love Austin is just that he's a cat. He can talk, but he's a cat. I just looked through some of the tabs that I have in this first book, and there is one part where I have tabbed it that Austin says, "Come on, just in case the world's about to end, you can feed me." And I love that he is thinking about food, of course, when the world is about to end, but also that like he's acting like it's a great honor to be able to feed him. That's one example. There are so many more examples of Austin just being a cat, and I love him. Also, hell in this book is kind of anthropomorphized as well, and hell is kind of useless and also like greatly entertaining the whole way through the book. Okay, then lastly, in number one, I've put several different animals from the same series, and if you watch my videos a lot, you probably have been wondering where these ones have been on the list. So I'm talking about The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. There are a lot of animals in this that I really love. Firstly, we do have some cats that again act very cat-like. They're never really main characters, but they're around. It's almost like the cats aren't really interested in getting too involved in the story, but there are some really great cats throughout the series that some of the characters in this series have the skill, so they're able to talk to animals and sometimes bond with animals. So there are several times when characters will talk to cats, and the cats, again, not really interested because they're cats. I love all the cats. Also, we have dragons, primarily in the Rainwild Chronicles we have the dragons, because this is all about kind of these dragon keepers that are taking care of some baby dragons that end up being around. And these dragons are really struggling, but also, like, this is a theme with me. I really love animals that think humans are not very good because, one, like, it's just accurate. But I love this non-human centric way of looking at things. And the dragons in this world really do think that humans are not really that important, and I love it. Especially Tentaglia, who you get more in the Life Ship Traders. Like, her view of humans, just poetry. I love it. But actually, another favourite character that I have from the Realm of Elderlings would be this one, Motley. So Motley comes along in the last trilogy, maybe even only in the last book of the last trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings. And Motley is always being attacked by the other birds, but still isn't really interested in bonding with Fitz. So it's kind of assumed in the series that when Motley comes along, that Fitz will bond with Motley. But Motley is not that interested, and I really love that that is coming down to the animal's choice rather than being like the human's choice, because mostly when you have animal-human bondings, it's like the human that decides they want the bonding. So I really love that in this case Motley's like, not really interested. But my most absolute favourite animal companion in like every book ever, maybe. Is this a big claim I'm making? Probably. But anyway, I really love Night Eyes. I think he comes along in the second book of the series. Maybe the first book, I'm not sure. But Night Eyes is a wolf that Fitz saves at a certain point and then has an absolutely beautiful friendship with. But again, Night Eyes just has a really different way of looking at the world, like a non-human perspective of the world. Night Eyes sees things as a wolf would see them, and throughout the series really gives the characters like this different perspective in a way that really helps them, mostly. Like often Night Eye's solution to problems is that maybe you should just kill them, which isn't always the worst solution, given some of the really terrible characters in this series. But also Night Eyes has some really like strong loyalty to the humans that he views as being part of his pack. And just the bond that Fitz and Night Eyes eventually build between each other is so beautiful. And also in the last series we have kind of bits of Night Eyes wisdom, and the way that that's incorporated into the story is again really beautiful. And honestly, I just love Night Eyes so much. Like, maybe I'm making a bold claim, but maybe my favorite character in the Realm of the Elderlings. No, I think it's B. But anyway, those are my top 10-ish favorite animal companions in books. Let me know down in the comments if you love some of the same ones or whether you have some other great animal companions from books. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.